The name is sickle cell trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness, education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org. I want to say that was huge. That's like one of my huge, greatest accomplishments that I could say besides my military career and my three daughters. But I want to say this, and I was trying to figure out the best way to put this, is you don't have to wait for a class, right? So before that, when I started in 2010, this whole thing came out of my depression because my life was over and my transition out of the service and my medical board and those things. And when I discovered that sickle cell trait, what I experienced had been happening for years, and athletes had been collapsing and dying from it, I was able to become an advocate. And I started to go to schools. So you don't have to wait until you get a college course. You can go to the schools that you grew up in. So Diamond Ray, one time, Diamond Ray and Omika came. My daughter was in high school, and I was like, hey, you have biology class, right? She's like, yeah. I'm like, get me the teacher's information, and I want to talk to him to see if I could come to the school and sit through your courses. And she was like, okay. So she did it, and rest his soul. Mr. Lake passed away, but he responded and allowed me to come that day to sit in all 5 periods. Because if you remember, in high school, they do talk about sickle cell in the biology class. And so I asked him, I said, my goal is to come to your class, sit through each period. You can open up the conversation about what's in the biology books, and we're going to bring real bodies. So when they read and go over that in class, then they will be able to talk to us. And now there's a face to what they've learned. And so he did that. And that day, we spoke to I have it in my phone, about 130 students in that one day. And what was most impactful was not us just sharing our stories and sickle cell trait and sickle cell disease, but there was one student, and my daughter's school was predominantly Hispanic. There was one Hispanic young guy that came up to us as we were sitting in the outside area, and I was talking to my team, like, this is what it looks like. Like, we can do this and all over California. And the guy walked past and says, you know what? Thank you guys for coming to our school today. He says, my family doesn't have sickle cell, but my grandmother is sick, and you've shared with me how I can connect now to my grandmother. And for me, that was yes, we talked about sickle cell, but that was for me the biggest accomplishment that day, is because that we connected to someone else who didn't understand what we were talking about, but he looked in his own life and saw where he could connect with his own family. And so that footprint was very valuable. I can tell you that I've gone to Arizona, and I was going to go visit some friends, and I'm like, well, y'all gonna be at work, so let me see if I can do something while I'm there. And so I looked up the schools in their surrounding area, and I think it was about 5, and one responded. And I'm like, look, I want to come to your school. I could do the auditorium, and I have a presentation, and they approved me. And I went there, and I stayed the whole day. They brought each class to the auditorium. I did my presentation. I brought the survey. I collected 550 surveys in that one day. And again, a young woman came up and says, thank you for coming to my school. I have brain issues, and I used to be a swimmer, and your story just inspired me to want to continue and fight. And so we know that we're leading this charge, and how important our conversation is to the world. But there's also the experience that we bring to the world as well that's just as valuable as our knowledge. And so I'm saying, yes, we want to get this into schools, because as Dr. Austin mentioned, like, these athletes are getting tested and they're getting, the reasons why, but they're not getting the information behind it, right? And so for me, it's all important. I know that, and this is probably to Rob. I went to a conference once, and we were talking about, well, they only get 5 minutes in the medical books. And they were like, well, you know what? If we put more sickle cell in the medical school, then all the other causes are going to want time. And now we're going to be spending all this other time with all these different, courses, lupus and all these people, they're going to want to have more time in the books. And we were like, yeah, okay, whatever, So that's above my pay grade. I'm here to share the basic facts and to inspire you, to tell you that, yes, the bigger picture is to have, this in schools, and you can do that right where you are, in your own city. Go to your old high school, go to where your children go to school at. And that's what KW is saying. If we start to do that and cultivate our own, because our own community is not aware even of what sickle cell trait and what sickle cell disease and looks like. So we do have a responsibility and if we don't do it in our own community, how are we going to expect the outside forces to be like, oh yeah, let's take it on, when they don't even, and then they don't even agree about what it looks like. So all of this is very, very important. My foundation is What's to Count on Sickle Cell Trait Prevention. I understand that, sickle cell trait has its own awareness, education, and prevention conversation. And we do meet when it comes to both of those parents having either sickle cell trait or sickle cell and thalassemia or sickle cell and SCRC trait. But yeah, that's what I wanted to share, is that the bigger picture, yes, is to have a college course and have these courses out living. I mean, we're diligently working together as a group to put the 360 spectrum course together that we accomplished. So that's, to me, that's on a bigger level, bigger scale for me. And also still diligently looking to get my college course back into more schools, but don't wait for that framework to happen when you can. I mean, HBCU, like, shouts out to Jewel Darbonet, who passed away. She got us the Bow Lips. We were in Dr. Austin's school, college. I mean, we went to these different HBCUs, so you don't have to wait until the college courses in your town or in your city, but you can start hitting those spaces. I did Locke High School. I started in 2010, 2011. I was at Locke High School, like, with their athletic department, speaking at their award ceremony. I mean, so there's different ways that you can create to find your voice, whatever you want. When I do my radio show, what do you want people to know about sickle cell or sickle cell trait? And when they think about that, that's what I'm asking you to start speaking on, because as in the military, we all have a role and we all have a voice, and nobody here overlaps, because your story, what you care about, is unique to you, and we can all join forces and have this common conversation. And that, for me, that will build up what's necessary for those outside forces to see that we are united as a community. As she mentioned, the cancer, they join forces immediately. And so very important. And I'm blessed to be here, and I'll be around for more questions later. Thank you.
Thank you, Farron.